Say it.
Mm-hmm.
Say it.
It was actually pretty good. Okay, finally, a good Transformers movie, and man, I really liked it. Like, this is what Transformers should have been to begin with. Like, Michael Bay, when he's not in a director's chair, anything can happen, and with Steven Spielberg being involved, like, you know you're going to get a much better, thoroughly thought out story. I mean, yes, it doesn't follow the original Transformers TV show to a T, but you know, all you really need is the basics to tell a good story.
You just might as well take a dump truck full of money and just drive it right up to Travis Knight's house, because if the Transformers license really wants to do a good job of redeeming itself, this film is definitely a good place to start. And if it wants to build from that, then personally I see no reason at all to give Travis Knight another chance with this franchise.
Yeah, now one thing, if there is any kind of, I guess, nitpick thing that I have to say about Bumblebee, is it's very formulaic. Like, the formula is something we've all seen before. I mean, if you've seen E.T., if you've seen The Iron Giant, you've seen this movie before. You know, you have Alien, there's an ordinary person who has a secret. They gotta try to keep that secret. They make friends with it. There's some bigwig somewhere that want to find out the secret, and when they do, all hell breaks loose, and they work together to save the day. But I mean, given Steven Spielberg, you kind of expect that, but the characters really save it. And I really love how nothing to me feels as shoehorned into this movie, which unfortunately is happening a lot, I think. Like, we have a strong female protagonist, but she feels very natural. I mean, this takes place back in the 80s. I mean, I remember the 1980s, you know, being a girl at that time, you just don't care sometimes. I mean, this girl's going, you know, Charlie, her name is, she goes through struggles, you can clearly understand. She makes friends with Bumblebee. The friendship is just, it's so genuine. There's a lot of emotion behind it, and you really sympathize everything she's going through and how she connects with Bumblebee, how she, you know, lets out all her emotion, things that she feels she couldn't talk to her parent, you know, her mother about. She's talking to Bumblebee, so that really worked out for me, and the connection, like, it's just, it's there. It's things you don't get in a Michael Bay movie.
The biggest plus with this film is that this film ended up being incredibly grounded, which is personally, I think, what the Transformers license needed, because I think one of the biggest curses with the other films is that they've always felt the need to try to exceed each other with regards to more action, more robots, more explosions, just more mindless mayhem. And I think one of the biggest strengths of this film is that it really didn't need that many robotic characters to be powerful. One of the best things is that the scenes where a lot of robots were needed in order to build context, to actually build a history with regards to what this film wants to present, is thankfully that those scenes were very short and very brief, but they provided with just the right amount of fan service that would please fans of the 80s cartoons and even new fans to the Transformers franchise.
Yeah, I mean, there is action, don't get me wrong, there's action, there's explosions, there's fights. I mean, the fight scenes actually are quite well choreographed. I love it. You can tell with the action, you know, with the motion capture, like, they took like real pros, you know, jujitsu or whatever it is, doing all these amazing fight scenes. But I mean, there's a reason for this, you know? The explosions, yeah, like, things have to explode in certain fights. So, when Michael Bay was directing it, it just was so mindless, and it was noise. But with this one, different story. The action is there, but it moves the plot along, right? So you really do need it. Yeah, so like the characters, the action was good, the story was good, the music was really nice, and all the references to the 80s. Little things, like the movies, yeah, and little tiny gestures like Bumblebee, like he does this like yes, you know the scene. If y'all seen The Breakfast Club, I'm sure you will enjoy that for sure. And the designs, like that's another thing. Why this movie like is such a respects the Transformers fans to begin with. The designs of the robots, they resemble what they look like in the cartoon, and Michael Bay had no respect for that. He was all about making them look cool. I said, well, guess what? The fans, at least from what I've heard, had a big outcry when the first movie came out about their designs.
The thing is that, you know, Michael Bay's argument was that, you know, he tried to be too much of a perfectionist. You know, he wanted to design the robots in such a way that, you know, every piece of a car, you know, had somewhere to go. But unfortunately, he abandoned the core aspects of what made the designs of these robots memorable. And the thing is that one of the biggest complaints with a lot of the other Transformers films is that a lot of people struggled to know which robot was which because it was really hard to distinguish them. And even though the limited amount of robots that were in this film, it was still incredibly easy to determine who was who. And you know, you could actually see the action scenes, and you could actually see you know what each of the robots were actually doing to each other. But you know, regardless of the action, and you know, this film does have its mindless action scenes, but more importantly, this film has a lot of heart. And one thing that actually amazed us is that this film is actually really funny, and it actually makes an attempt to actually humanize Bumblebee and actually show him a sense of humiliation, because literally in this film, you know, he is a fish out of water. And in the sense that he's brought to a new world that he has no knowledge or, you know, no concept about, and he's trying to learn through it. And because of that, it actually brings him into some very comical situations that actually gives the film an incredibly good amount of pacing to it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing you haven't seen before. You know, you're a giant robot, you're trying to hide, but of course, oh my goodness, like everything that's going on, you're trying to fit in, and it doesn't quite work out. But I mean, kudos to the directing in this movie, because there's a lot of little details that there were some I had to explain to him, but just pay close attention. If you haven't seen it before, pay close attention to certain aspects of the stories, aspect to the character Charlie, and how they come back to play as the story progresses on. One thing I do hope they change if they make more movies, you know, going forward, is I do hope they fix the voice in Bumblebee. Like, no spoiler here, but Bumblebee does talk. However, he does lose his voice, and he still communicates through the radio. But at the end, you know, when he moves on at the end of the movie, I hope that gets fixed. You know, I hope he gets his voice back and the communication's in full. Because I mean, yeah, him not being able to talk, it works in this. It works because, again, he's new. So I find the silence lets his actions speak louder and they're more genuine. But now I think, okay, that's done. He's on Earth. He knows everything now. Give his voice back. So overall, yes, I love it. Like, if you're a Transformers fan, if you're a fan of the 80s, you're a pop culture nerd, a lot of this is something you haven't seen before. Hence, you know, it's basically E.T. with robots or Iron Giant. But the characters make it work, make the formula go on well. So yeah, I say see it. I loved it. A good Transformers movie. Thank God. I didn't think I'd live to see this day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And watch out for the excellent references towards the 80s cartoon, especially at the very beginning of the film. And
Yeah.
there's a nice, incredibly touching moment, especially at the end of the film on the Golden Gate Bridge, that I know a lot of fans will really enjoy.
Yeah. Anyway, so I say check it out. So this is Chippy Netko signing out.
Take care.